Okay, let us start, Hema. Uh,
Yeah.
Good morning to all who have joined in for this webinar on how to develop reading skills. In today's world, we are all, especially in the last 6 months, we have all shifted our gears or the paradigm shift towards online digital learning. But this is probably because of the pandemic which is in. But even otherwise, most of the time I have seen the students, even adults, not really practicing or having habits of reading, and that is actually being passed on to the next generation. And I have been a very strong supporter of reading books, and especially reading hard copies, not from Kindle or not from digital PDF files. I even today I don't even feel like reading a page on my laptop or an Android phone. I would even today prefer a hardbound book. I would really be happy if the same habits are being passed on to the next generation, which is quite difficult, but I think we need to put our efforts on that. Keeping in view the same, we have been talking a lot and we do promote a lot of reading in schools where I visit. We thought let us have a program, a webinar, and try to give some tips on how to inculcate reading habits among children. This would be more beneficial for, I'm sure, we'll be, all of you are able to hear me. In case if you are not able to hear me, you can just ping in and then let me check again. But I think I'm audible enough to all of you. So I was talking about the program which we thought, and then I'm really thankful for Hema Subramanian for taking her time out and giving us this 45 minutes to 1 hour. And Hema Subramanian has been an educator and a curator and an expert in storytelling sessions. I would not take much time of us because she's a very passionate educator, I would say. It's been a long association for me with Hema, a good friend, and she's always got new ideas on how to inculcate reading habits. I keep following her up on the Facebook, her live sessions, which she's been doing. Something interesting which I was Itihas ke panno se, which I keep following it up regularly, Hema. And the last episode which you had done a series was really interesting on how it is. I think I request all those who have joined in, those who do not know Hema, those who know Hema, the quite follow up. And there are some new team members in this. Um, uh, I could probably share it with you later, and I request that you will really have to go through her series. And teachers who are here especially would get a lot of tips on how to inculcate and how you could do storytelling sessions. Without wasting much time, I would pass on the mic to Hema. Hema is all yours. She also, one more line I would like to add, she has got her own firm, a company where she works with Wedges Incorporation, where she works with students in schools. She's based in Mumbai now. Earlier she was in Hyderabad. Now she's based in Mumbai, and that is where she works from. So all the best, Hema, and it's all yours now.
Thank you so much, sir. And it's been a pleasure coming here and trying to share my humble thoughts on whatever I feel that can help to develop reading skills. So I'm going to share some of the thoughts. So let me start, and I think I'll go along
Yeah.
with that, and you'll be able to understand. So the first thing I'll be covering why reading is important, types of reading, and when do I start reading to my child, and how do I develop a reading habit. That's the most important thing, I think. And difficult readers, how do you tackle them? And activities and strategies to make reading a fun time. These are things I would be going along with. So, first and foremost, I would really like to ask y'all, why do you think is reading important? Can you just quickly type what you feel in the chat box, just for an understanding, so that we can just go ahead with it? And yeah, so just I'll give you 2 seconds, 2 minutes to just type in what you think is, why do you think important? Okay, someone. So please type in your entries about why do you think reading is important? Enhances their language skills, builds up vocabulary. Yes, no. Anything anymore? Anymore? Anybody would like? क्यों reading important है? Why is reading important? Okay, I think yeah. Okay, reading enhances. Also, we have photo memory. So while they read, they learn spellings as well. Okay, wonderful. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and let us talk about why reading is important. So the first thing it is, it develops imagination. And the best part about reading is like, when you read, you actually see the picture in your mind. So you create those pictures as you read in your mind, and when those images are created, so you already get transported into that space, into that setting, into the character's mood, and you have your own character, your own setting with the reading that you are doing. So it is a personal picture that is going on in your mind, a personal movie that is going. So it surely develops imagination, because once you read, your mind starts creating images. So that is something very important for later on for child to develop their own writing skills, or develop their own expression. How do you express yourself? So all that helps, with reading helps them create that imagination in their mind. Very important tool for a child to have as they are growing up. And once they grow up, it really helps them in so many different ways, which we will see later on. This is it. You travel from the armchair, you sit in your house, you're sitting over there, and suddenly you are in Paris, suddenly you are in Goa, or in the Dehradun, in the hills, or in the forest, or beach mein ho aap, or ya to you are near the temple or a mosque, or a church, or every place it keeps changing. So you are actually traveling to different historical places. Every place I read. So reading is a very, very important part to help you to travel around the world. Even if you can't physically go there, you can really travel around the world. Third is, like somebody had already mentioned, language and vocabulary development. Yes, as you read, the language develops. It can be in any language. It need not be only English. It can be Tamil, it can be Tamil, it can be Punjabi. Whatever language the book you are reading is going to help you to develop the language that you are reading in. And also creates a lot of vocabulary. How a same thing can be said with a different word, different kind of a word that is much more which is not usually used in the normal parlance. So you can develop those kind of vocabulary from reading. So that's a, and then it actually relaxes you. For me, it is a major relaxation. If I really need to relax, I just curl up with a book, and I just peace my own space, and that's what helps me in relaxing me. The reading helps me to relax myself. And last but not the least, but more gaining knowledge about different things. Reading helps you to gain knowledge about a variety of things. And I think even now there is so much of learning. Every day you learn something new. So reading is a very, very important tool to have as you go through life. Actually, it is not only children, I think even adults. Everybody has to have a good reading habit to help you all to develop yourselves and take yourself forward. So it's a very, very, very important tool. Now, like I said, there are different types of reading. Now, what are the different types of reading? One is reading for pleasure. So, reading for pleasure is talking about, and as children, I think they should start reading for pleasure more than anything else. That's the most important thing. They should feel happy reading. So, reading for just for your satisfaction, for your happiness. So you may read whatever you like to read, and then you have reading for understanding, and then you have reading more the things that why you read for a particular purpose. In the sense, you read something and understand, and then especially our school reading, what we do, the subjects that we read about. And if suppose you want to gain knowledge about how to use a computer or how to make a PowerPoint, so you would be reading about that and to work out on that. So these are the things that I would look at for why reading is very important to us. And then we go ahead next. The main thing that we'll ask is okay, then there is also, sorry, I missed out skimming and scanning. There is also skimming. Why do you skim while you're reading? Skimming is when you're just, okay, I pick up a book and I go through the pages, and I'm just looking at what it is talking about. Maybe when you are just picking up a book and figuring out what the book is talking about. So that is kind of skimming, and you're just looking for getting a gist of what the talk or what the person is trying to tell you through his writing. So that is skimming. Scanning is when you really look for certain information that you really want. You go into a little bit, not too deep, not reading for understanding, where you sit down and try to understand the text and try to understand what is to be read. But this is more about scanning for. I know that this book is containing an information about storytelling somewhere in between. So I would just quickly go through it and look for the words, the right words. So storytelling. So that is what I'm talking about when you're talking about scanning. You scan a book and say, okay, this is the information I want, and you read what that particular part, keep the book and go away. So that is a. So the next thing that we would be really looking at is, when do you start reading for your child? Here, I would like to ask you all, what do you all think? When do you think we should start reading for our child? There is a poll. So you quick fill in the poll, and so then we can figure out how we can go ahead with this. I'll just quickly fill up the poll so that we know.
Is it visible, Hema?
Yeah, for me it is visible. I don't know.
Then I think everybody it is visible.
Yeah. I hope it's visible to all.
Yeah.
So I'll just wait for a few minutes for you all. I'm not able to see whether they're filling it up.
Yeah. They are filling it up.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the first question we had was, when do we start reading our children for our children? It was 0 to 5 months, 6 to 8 months, 1 to 3 years when they go to school, and 8 to 10 years. We got most of them answering to 0 to 5 months.
Great.
And the second one is 1 to 3 years, and then 6 to 8 months. The first
Okay.
place,
First
the 0 to 5 months.
yeah, great.
50% polling, I mean, 50% of them have said 0 to 5 months. And about
That's
25% have
superb.
said
I
it
mean,
is 1 to 3 years, 25%. And then 15%, 10% is for 6 to 8 months and when they go to school respectively. Yeah.
okay, great. And okay, we are not doing the next poll right now, or the
Yeah,
which we are
we
about
have it.
reading
I
books.
can give you the answers for that
We
uh,
can take a look at it later.
later when
Yeah,
you
we
come
can
to
take a
the
look
topic.
at it later.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, fantastic. I think you're all right on track. But actually, you can even start reading for a child even before the child is born, the baby is born. The famous story of Abhimanyu, where he was taught the trick of the Chakravyu while he was in his mother's stomach. So the only thing is he missed out on coming out because he missed out the part of he did not listen to the part where how he could come out of the Chakravyu, and that is why he got caught and he died. So this is the story of Abhimanyu's skills that he picked up when he was in the womb. So yes, as a mother, when you're expecting a child, it's read for your baby in the sense you can read a little aloud some books. Yes, it looks weird, but then the baby is really soothed. It feels like an experience once they hear your voice. Your voice is very important for the child to understand, and it also sets a pattern that you would be doing this regularly later on. The second thing is, yes, you are absolutely right when you talk about the 0 to 5 months. 0 to 5 months, and it is very important to start continue reading for the child. And when they are 6 months old, it is very good. Sorry, we can
Somebody switched on their mic.
somebody is coming.
Please unmute it. I could see two, three of them are on unmute. Please mute it so that we could hear only the speaker talking. Yeah, Hema.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So 0 to 6 months again, like so and just give them because they'll start feeling and touching. So giving them books to feel, touch, play with it is also a very good idea to actually start them on getting the feel of books and getting understanding of how to read and how to go about turning the pages and playing with it. So get familiar with books. So that is a very important. And of course, you can use that to show them the pictures of the objects and things that you have to teach them as they learn at that age. So yes, that is the earliest that you can start. So now I will be going through how do you develop reading skills in children of different ages. So there are different ways you can do things for different age groups. But first and foremost, I would like to start with the common. So I'll be going through with common tips for babies, toddlers, young children, and teenagers. So first and foremost, let me start with the common tips that I would be giving you all to get a child to read. So how do we start with that? So the next slide. So the common tips that I would like to give would be first and foremost, develop your reading skills. If you don't read, you will not be able to inculcate that in your child. The first thing that you have to do is you have to pick up a book and read in front of your child. Only then the child will read. It need not be a novel, it need not be a big fat book. It can be magazines, it can be articles that you're reading, it can be storybooks. So it can be any kind of book, but that is a very, very, very important thing to do. You have to pick up reading. So this is the first thing that I would tell anyone, that first you start reading and then you expect your child to read. The second thing is, like, first set up a family reading time. It helps a lot if you Set up a time in the evening before going to bed or after dinner. If you have some time that you are going to make it as a family time, it develops, it also brings a bonding in the family. It brings about discussions about the books. So there are a lot of beautiful spaces that can be created. Okay, there might be many times where you can't alone and read, but at least the mother can sit or the father can sit and read along with the children. So they also read. Sometimes you read for them, and sometimes you can sit and read, and they also read for you. So believe me, it really helps, and it just gets them to pick up a book and sit down. Even children, toddlers who can't read, usually sit with a book at that time. So it's very, very have to develop, and it is a family bonding time. And then you can set up a reading corner or a space in your house. So that is something that it depends on the room, and or the bedroom or the bed can be the best space to read if before the child goes to bed. So that is a wonderful time to spend with the child and read a book and chat about book and then talk about the day and then go to sleep. So that is a wonderful space. So setting up a reading corner in your house is a very, very important aspect of reading. So it becomes that a space to read. So keep a lot of reading material in the house. So reading material can be from different types of material you can keep in the house, and you can keep books, you can keep magazines, you can keep stories, you can keep different genres of books. It can be quick books, it can be light reading, it can be heavy reading. So just keep books in the house so that the child is tempted to pick up a book and read. Yeah. And you can just build up your small little library with that. And what else? Yeah. So read the book your child is reading yourself. That is a very important thing to do. You have to read what the child is reading. You need not tell the child that you're reading the book, but you be aware of what the child. So that helps you to understand what the child is reading, and also try to help the child to understand the book better. You can have a discussion about that, or not an academic kind of discussion, but a kind of discussion where even in your day-to-day life, you suddenly see a character in the book, and the character behaves in a particular way. So suddenly you realize, you see that something has happened and somebody had behaved like that. So you can bring the character alive by saying, like, see, this person behaved like that, a particular character in the book. So what happens is the child feels involved with the story that he's reading, he or she is reading, and will be able to create a conversation around that. So that helps the child to get more interest in reading. So that is one thing, a very important thing to do. Visit your local library. So going to the library is something very, very important for a child. So he or she should see that you are going to the library, you are reading a book, you're picking up book, you're browsing through the books. And if there is no reading bookshop, so it has to be that how you feel and touch the books and you read the books, and how you select your books. So all this the child learns through watching you. So let the children go through the process of doing that, and take the child to the library, allow the child to pick up the book. So that helps the child a lot. The most important thing is, please don't make reading a chore. Don't say that it is a job. अच्छा अभी ये करो, ये करने के बाद 1 घंटा रीडिंग करोगे आप, उसके बाद आप ये that, because what happens is the child is forced to read at that time.
One second, Hema, 1 second. Sorry, somebody is not put on mute. Mute में डालिए. बच्चे कोई हैं जो बात कर रहे हैं, अपना फोन म्यूट पे डालिए. हाँ, thank you. Yeah.
No problem. So don't make reading a काम जैसे मत करना. मतलब ये हो गया एंड देन अच्छा अभी 1 घंटा आप पढ़ोगे, बुक उठाओ और रीड करो, ये स्टोरी not going to help the child at all, because the child will start feeling it is a task, it is a job to be done. Instead, the child should love reading. She should keep picking up and read. So instead, you can say that, chalo, let's sit down and read for some time. I'm also tired. I want to relax for some time. So let's read. I'm going to read this. You want to read some book? आप भी बैठ जाओ, तो हम साथ में रीड करते हैं, चलो। और या तो आप रीड करो बच्चे के लिए, और या तो बच्चे को बुक उठा के बैठने बोलो, आप एक बुक लेके बैठ जाओ, और यू बिल्ड अप रीडिंग। इफ यू से आप रीड करो, मैं काम कर रही हूँ, खत्म करो, अभी एक मैं आके देखूंगी आपने कितना पेजेस पढ़ा है, और देन आई विल आस्क यू क्वेश्चंस ऑन व्हाट यू हैव रेड। इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प school academic learning, and which is not going to help the child to read, pick up a book and read. So that is something very, very, very important into a task or a chore. So be patient. Don't sprint the marathon. Don't. It's a long thing, long process. Reading is difficult for the easy thing. So it will take for time for them to get used to reading fluently. So don't push them. Let them read a book which is lower that comfortable in reading. You can read them books which are a little higher level. So that is, you're already introducing the vocabulary or a little higher vocabulary. But let the child what the child is comfortable with, and let them feel and be happy about what they are reading. So don't push them कि you have इतने में इतना खत्म करना पड़ेगा, मैंने के दिया था, आप तक अभी तक खत्म नहीं किए हो, क्या कर रहे हो, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू बाय यू अनदर बुक, ऐसे नहीं कर सकते. You can't do all those kind of things. You just have to wait patiently for the child to read the book and take it forward. Expose your child to different genres. Okay, there are this is something very important. Not every child likes stories. Over my experience of this last few years that I've been dealing with children, I've noticed that there are children who really don't like fairy and they don't like stories. They like to read something else, and each one has a different taste. And there have been some children who absolutely like non-fiction. They like to read books on cars. They like to read books on computers. They like to read books on dinosaurs. They like to read books on animals and maybe NC. But there can be children who may not like all that and more would like to read a story. So you have to really work with the child and understand what is it that the child likes. Is it something in a non-fiction format or in a fiction format? That's a very important thing for you to find out. So figuring this out will be helpful when you go and you watch what kind of books the child prefers to pick up and reads, and see how long the child spends. Does the child finish the book, or is the child having finishing the book, or does not like the story format, likes the encyclopedia format or an informative book format? And you decide on that. Next thing is most important. Please read to your child every night before you go to bed. Make it a habit. Like I already said, set up a family reading time and let everybody read together. Read for your child. You have to invest time with your child for the child. It will not happen with just switching on an audio book for them to read, or just putting on a storytelling session on the television to watch. So that is not going to story, but they will not pick up a book and read. So if you want them to read, it is better that you sit with them and read every night. That's the most important. So reading at night becomes your space with your child. It is a time that you will cherish when they grow up and when they are born. That how you spend time with it. This creates memory in your mind and your child's mind, and it's a very important bonding time for the parent with the child. So this is very important. Read to your child every night. And, create a love for books. You have to create a love for books with them. They should feel that. How do you create a love for something? When you love something, when you feel excited about a certain thing, that is where the child also picks up. allow. So no pressure, no forcing them, and not telling them to do it as a task. All this will help to create a love for books for them. Now, please talk to them about the books. Have a conversation about books when you're on a dining table, or when you're going out somewhere, you're going on a trip, or whatever it is, where you are as a family. Try to have conversation about books. And even as adults, like I read this book, oh, that was really wonderful. Or take them to the place where they have read about. Ruskin Bond books always talks about Dehradun and the hills and all those places in the mountains. So take them to that, and while you are there, just verbally talk to them about it. Don't make it like a class though, but just generally and casually speak to them about, oh, doesn't this forest look like the one that we read in the book? And even as your with your spouse, you can talk about the books that you all are reading. So what happens is a child is encouraged to talk about the books that they are also reading. So they always want to give an opinion, they always want to join into the conversation. So it always helps to get them to get involved with their reading. Now, these are the common tips, and I would like to go ahead with how do you develop a reading habit in your child in babies. So, how do you start with babies? I'll just give you some wonderful tips on that. First of all, read aloud to your baby. That's really nice. They love to hear your sound, your voice, and something that they would really, it's a time when they feel very nice. They're close to you. You're holding the baby and you're reading a book. It's all a time again. And babies love to be held and spoken to. And slowly you will realize, as you're reading, as you're going ahead with your reading, you will see the baby responds to your sounds, responds to your intonation of voice, and the drama you bring in your voice. And you can communicate with your baby in that as I said, like it may not be a meaningful communication in the sense, but at the same time there is a connect. And please do make eye contact when you're reading for the baby. So that is a very important thing. And next thing you can do is like read every day. Please do not miss out reading to your child every day. Every day is very important. It becomes a regular routine. It is like how you feed your child. Would you ever miss feeding your child for one particular meal, or even one, say, maybe giving them a fruit or whatever? Would you ever miss it? You will always keep that in your mind when you're bringing up babies, that you have to feed the child. So remember that this is intellectual feeding. You have to feed babies with stories and a lot of book reading. So that is a very important thing. So make it a read everyday thing. And no TV and no computer. I have already mentioned that earlier. Maybe as they grow up and when they want to explore, when they are 8 to 10 years old, then the audiobooks can be introduced. But please do not do your chores when the baby is listening to the audiobook or the television. So your voice is very important. You have to talk to the baby. That is very, very important. And research shows that it has a direct impact on language. So the amount you read, the child also develops their language very well. When I teach small children, especially very small children, 7 and 8 years old, when they come to me for writing, I see that there is a marked difference in children who have been brought up reading books and children who have not been exposed to books. The language vocabulary is so different. So it is, you can really make out that this child has been nurtured with reading, and this child has been exposed to books. The knowledge that they gain, the language that they speak, the sentence formations are much better, and the vocabulary is fantastic. So that is a very, very important part. It does impact their language. Read stories with animal sounds when they are babies, when they are small babies. That will make them understand the sounds that they have to come. They're just learning, you see, they're just learning to use your voice at that. So that will help them to develop, try out new sounds and try out new ways of modulating their own voice and trying to build up speech. So be very animated for babies when you are animating. And normally we are very animated with babies. So I think even while reading, that needs to be continued. And make eye contact, like I said earlier. Please make eye contact with the baby. So the baby feels that you're speaking to the baby and you're reading it to him or her. So that's a very important part. And have a set reading time with the baby. Like I told, please need a time for reading with your baby. And give 6 month your babies, like, give babies younger 6 months books to play with. You get a lot of books in the market where you have plastic bound books and things that you can easily use and which are not easily torn or does not choke the child. Be careful about the safety issues, but let the baby play and feel the books as they go through the books. And introduce words, pictures, song, and rhythm. So this is a very good exercise which I learned as my aunt was teaching her young child who was born deaf. So what she used to do is when we read the books, she showed the object to the child and told him the word, and we had to speak to him only in one language because he was deaf. And so we tell the object, and whenever she was walking, even on the road, if she went to a, if suppose she has taught him orange and she goes across a fruit shop, she would go to the fruit and point to the orange and say that's an orange. And so if the child relates it to real life, so I learned from that that this can be done even for your own children in their life, not having to be taught in a special way. But this is a technique that we can use for children, our children also, so that they start relating to things, they start applying their learning to things that they want. So right from that age, they know that if I see this here, it is also available in real life. I can see it in real life. So that is about baby reading along with how we can read to babies. So for toddlers, I'm going to go through because it's just one step ahead of babies. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but I would be giving a few tips which are a little different from the babies here. So for a toddler, please read aloud. That is again the thing. You have to read aloud for children for quite some time. So that is something going to be constant. And have the physical closeness. Even with toddlers, put them on your lap and read to them. Feel or lie down together with them, or you know put a carpet or mat on the floor and lie down with them and read a book. So have the physical closeness, and your voice is very important. You have to have your voice telling them or reading them the story, and make it a really a happy time where the toddler feels they have this time with you. Actually, there will come a time when the toddler will pick up a book and come and ask you, I want you to read this book for me. So that is something that has to happen, and the child has to come and ask you. That space you have to create, the happiness that you create over there, the child automatically picks up a book and comes and reads with you. Read calming books at night. Remember, in the night, you cannot read books because they have got a lot of action, and especially with toddlers, you know how much energy they have. So be very mindful of that. Please do not read books which are very entertaining at night. Read something which is calming and where maybe the character goes off to sleep after that, or goes home, or something where the story ends in a very calm way. They have a fun at that time. So pick up a book which is taking them to that kind of a zone, and they go off to sleep. And set reading times, like reading bedtime for babies also. So that is a very, very, very important part. So select books carefully. Be very careful about what you are selecting for the child, and select books that would expose them to different places in the world, different settings, different maybe good habits, or whatever you need to develop in the child at that time. You can pick up something that is an it's a very it's not a direct way teaching child about a lot of things. And toddlers have their own choice too, so it's okay if the child keeps picking up the same book over and over and over again to keep the story again. It doesn't matter, let them go, let them just go through the books. So you don't have to put them off reading, because sometimes they may just want to know a particular book, they may just sulk and they may actually get off reading. So so just humor them, just read for them the same story over and over again. Again, you can add a new book and say, okay, the crocodile is crying because he's not been read for a long time. So why don't we read the crocodile book today and we'll come back to the mouse book tomorrow? So you can have kind of try to wean the child away, but please do not say force it and say no. We will. I would not like to read that same book again. And how many times would you want me to read that book? So they about, especially with toddlers. And allow the child to turn the pages of your book, feel your book, and see how you're reading. Keep your finger on the so the child knows that it is read from in a particular order. It just goes from here to there, and then you just move your finger, and then how the pages are turned. So let them feel how to read and pick up the techniques of reading also very subtly. So, and let them interrupt you in between your story, and about something, and maybe you can have a conversation. Like the other day I saw a little girl who was reading, and suddenly there came a time when the crocodile that he go to the doctor. So the child kept saying that he has to go to a doctor, and she started crying, and the mother kept asking what happened. She said, I don't want to go to a doctor, the doctor will give me injections. So these kind of things can be, there'll be things that will come up in the child's mind as they're reading, which is very good, because they're imagining, because they are going through the process of what the character is doing. It's very important part of reading. So let them go through that, and let them interrupt you, let them talk to you, and let them feel happy about reading it. And choose any of the books to read for them, like I already said earlier, different kinds of books. That is for toddlers. Now, the most important age where we struggle to read is the age where we are 7 to 10 years is very tough, because by the time the children start going to school, their fees increase, their everything, the pressure on them increases, performance comes into it, and then work is judged, writing is judged, everything is judged at that age. So they suddenly realize from that safe cocoon of your home, they have gone out into the world, and they have to prove themselves even at that very young age. So sometimes they might get distracted, they might stop reading at that time, they might not. But as I said earlier, keep it as a routine, keep it as a thing that you would do every day. So read together. Please keep that space of reading together alive, because that is what is going to, I'm going to say this again and again and again, because unless you pick up reading, the child will not read. So make it a habit that you read along with the child and have a space for reading. So one question that comes up is, till what age do I read to a child? Many people feel that after they are 7 or 8, once they start reading on their own, why shouldn't the parent read for the child? But research says that you can read for a child till they are 12 years old. It's very important to continue reading for them, because it is creating a space, it is creating a time with your child. So please continue reading till the time they want you to read for them. And also, it also helps you to introduce a lot of new kinds of books. You can also understand what the child is thinking, how the thoughts are going, peer pressure, the other children who are reading certain books, so they might want to read those books. So get those books, try to get them to read and develop that habit reading till a long time that they grow up. Like even if they are 8, 9, 10, even till 12, you can read for them. Talk about what your child reads again, because that is very important, especially at this age. So it is like sometimes, they might have some cookies that have been baked in the book that they have read, or they have gone to a vada pav stall and they have had vada pav. So you can, make a vada pav, or bake the cake and talk to them about how the character enjoyed it, and did you enjoy it like the character? Did you find it as spicy as the character in the book found? So you can relate the characters to the real life, bring them alive. That's a very, very, very important part of developing reading skills. Expose them to different kinds of books. Again, like I earlier told you, fiction, non-fiction, figure out what they would like to read. And going ahead is like you also have to support your child. It's very important. If your child is having some difficulty in reading, please support your child by reading along with the child, and don't make the child feel that he's not able to do it. When you are reading, if you find it difficult to read a word, you accept that it is a difficult word. I really don't know. Let me find out the meaning. Let me figure out. I'm not understanding what the author is trying to tell here. Let's find out. Or in that context, try to explain to the child, so that the child doesn't run to a dictionary every time they come across a difficult word. So they also have to learn to understand a lot of things with the context in which the word is being used. So try sometimes through the context, sometimes through dictionaries, but also make the child feel that you also have difficulty in reading some books. And certain books are very easy to read and certain books are difficult to read, so that the child doesn't feel that it is he or it is her or his fault that they cannot read. That is very important thing, to give the support to the child that they can do it and they can read it. And so just without pointing it out, help them go ahead. So children of this age really like to give opinions. So it's very important for you to ask their opinion, especially halfway through reading. Ask them, oh, what do you think the character is going to do? I think this is going to happen next. What do you think is going to happen? That's a very important part. And it also develops the critical thinking of the child. The child starts thinking on his own about what could happen and what will happen with this, or is the character right in doing this, or will somebody else come and do something else to the character. All these thought processes start, and a lot of critical thinking processes go on as we are reading. These are all subtle ways of developing a lot of other thinking processes. So it's a very important part for you to discuss and talk with the child about, ask the child questions and ask them to give opinions. It is a very, very, very important thing to do. And look up for unfamiliar words together, like I told earlier. That makes the child feel stronger, that okay, mama also doesn't know this word, papa also doesn't know this word. Okay, it's all right, we all figure out by looking at the dictionary. That is a very important part. And like I said earlier, please again do not make reading a task. Don't make it that you have to read for some time. Don't make it a forced activity. That is a very, very important thing that we have to keep in mind, especially with this age group. Please do not make it a task like your homework. Acha, you finished your homework? अभी 1 घंटा read करो. अभी ये book खत्म करो. Don't do that again. I'm telling this again and again because this happens to many children, and children actually go away from reading because of that. So please do not force anything on the child. So next thing is like expose them to different storytellers and other people. Take them to bookstores when they are having some events on storytelling, or take them for storytelling festivals. Take them to children's literature festivals happening. Take them to those places where they can be exposed to books, exposed to authors, exposed to activities based on books. And see, a lot of storytellers bring the books alive. So let them go and figure out and find out how books come alive, and why books are alive. And next thing is, one more thing I would like to tell here is, while you are reading for the child, you can also ask your friends to read for your child, and you can read for your friends' children. So that is something very, very important. to do. And like I think somebody had also mentioned that they have this DEAR time with the child, which is very important. Child, somebody had written in the chat box. So DEAR is drop everything and read. So that is something the children will really enjoy. The whole family stops, they have a time and the alarm goes and they have to just drop whatever they are doing and they have to sit with a book and read. So it's again a fun thing for them to do and have a good time. Yeah. How do I develop in teenagers? Teenagers is going to be a difficult task if they have not started. Start them to reading. Start to get into reading is very yeah. Okay. Please mute yourselves.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Membership. First of all, teenagers, it's best to get them a membership of a local library. So, you know, getting them a membership to a library is very help them. So, and allow provide. I really would like you to switch off your audio, please. Thank you. So allow them the liberty of to select their books. When you take them to the library and at teenage, you are very Array, what are we exposing them to? Will they be start? Will they pick up books that it's not good? Will they? Is this content right for them? Will they learn mind? So there are a lot of questions that come up when children go into teenage, and you start, questioning a lot of things, and you start monitoring a lot of things with them. And yeah, it is important. They have to be monitored. They have to be looked at. They have to be taken care of at that time specifically. But with books, allow them to pick up books, and you read the book also. Please pick up the book and read and figure out what is it the content about. If it is something that you've never come across, it is better to go through that and understand. And if you feel that is not suitable for the teenager, then you can talk to the teenager about it and talk to the child about it and say that this is something that has been mentioned in the book, but I don't think right to do, or whatever. You can ask the opinion of the child. Get the child to themselves tell you what they think about the child. In that way, you will be able to guide the child better. Instead of them, don't read that book because that content is there or because it is not a good book. That is going to get them to read it secretly from somewhere. So please do not do that. Go read, allow pick up the book, read, and then you can have a discussion about it later on. So that is something very important with, especially with teenage years. And do not be critical of their choice. Don't be mean to them and say, no, no, this is not the kind of book you should be reading. That is not the right thing to do with teenagers, because that time is very delicate, and forming their opinions about the world. So it is better to be very supportive and be open with them and have a good conversation with them about it is a better way to do it down over there. And they may not always read what their friends like to read. So at that age, particularly, specifically, there is a herd mentality. A lot of children see others reading, and they want to be one with the peers. They want to be one with their friends. So it always happens that you will see a lot of children reading one kind of book, one type of one series of book, and then one child who's not into it, and then you start worrying whether the child is normal. Why isn't he reading what the others are reading? It's all right. It is his choice or her choice. They might, like I already said, some children really do not like fiction. They might like non-fiction, so they might pick up a book which is a non-fiction and read over there. And here, instead of talking about the character and the content of the book, you can talk about the places or about the author. What the child felt about the author, what kind of writing did he do, and did he think? Did the child think that the author has researched enough, and what was their thought processes when they read the book. So these kind of a little mature conversation can have happen along with the child. And please make sure that you others and to your child also, so that it becomes a habit and it becomes something fun and pleasurable to do rather than a task again. And not force them to read here also, and keep looking for their area of interest. So that is very important. My son, when he was young, he never used to pick up any fictional books and never used to read books on animals, and I was little worried that he wouldn't pick up reading at all. But then I was interested in cars right from when he was 4 5 years old. So whenever I took him to a bookshop, he would pick up books only that were related to cars, and that was the consistent pattern that I saw in him. So then I started bringing books for him. I started subscribing to magazines that were talking about cars. Picked up so much knowledge about it that he really wanted to pursue his career in cars. So that is what he is doing right now. So that was something that we could pick up the interest at that age, and you could see the chance to go and develop that interest and give them books that are related to that, give them articles that are related, and talk to them about the articles that you have read related to that. So it helps them to pick and they believe me, they may not, sometimes some children might not respond to reading tactics that you're using at that age, but believe me, they will pick up reading as they grow up and as they go ahead in life. Everybody has a time and space for doing things, so they will do it anytime that they want to do it. And please, in the house, that's the most important thing. You have to create a culture of reading. Now, coming to difficult readers, I know most of parents have this child not reading, not even after trying so much, the child does not pick up reading. What do you do with such children? So some children may not like to act. So what do you do? So when they are young, it is just better to keep reading, keep reading for them without fail. Keep read for them in variety of different ways, variety of different books. Keep trying, keep looking at the interest, talk to them, see what they're interested in. If they're interested, develop books or read books that is based on dance, that talks about dance or talks about music. It depends on what they are interested in. Maybe if they are interested in art, so get them books about artists, talk to them about that. So try to see where their interest lies and build up that. That is the most important thing that we can do for readers. Try to make connected activities. This is a very important thing. When children, say for example, a child loves to draw. So when they read something, you say, okay, I'm reading this, why don't you draw what I'm reading? So if they're really interested in drawing, they will start creating figures, and they'll start, or after you finish, okay, draw this. What do you think has happened? Where is a character standing? Is he standing on in the forest? So what is there in the forest? Draw the forest. So something like that. And if suppose the child is oriented towards dance, you can say that let's make movements and see how the character went through this. Through dance, they can express the story. So try to engage the book that they are reading with the interest that they have. That is a very important thing that you have to build up with the children. And make reading time fun time. One more trick that works with children who are not interested in reading is take up a very exciting book and stop reading at a place. They will be very curious to know what is happening next. So that really works. They will either ask you to read the book soon, next time, or they themselves. So if they don't pick up the book and read, don't fret. You're still doing a good job trying to read to them. You're doing the job that they would be doing. You're still making man world. You're still developing, introducing language to them. You're still teaching them a lot of things. So don't fret. They will pick up a book at their own time. That's a very important. So that is about how do you develop reading skills in children of different age groups. And now let's look at some activities and strategies to make reading a fun time. So first of all, change the settings according to the mood. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So change the settings according to the mood. If you're reading a book which is a little bit of a horror story in it, it's better switch lights, read it with a torch, with the help of a torch, and get under the your covers and sit and read with them over there. It is mood. So it is very important. So again, it is an activity. Like everything. Like whenever the reading comes through, it has to be a fun time to do. So bring drama into a lot of energy, lot of voice modulation, move around sometimes, and let the children also move around. So bring drama into your reading, and let them imagine the scene and keep that scene alive. So that is a very important part of when you're reading for the child. Also, it is very very important to read news or comics together, or some magazine has come in and you see a clipping or a small short story, so you can just in your time you can sit and read that particular short story. So, and you also, like I told you earlier, you can create activities based on their interests. They like to draw, if they like to listen to music, then bring you can get there you can have audiobooks which has got songs in it, which has got music, and you can read along with the book. Please do not at that age, especially the age between 5 to 10 years, do not just allow them to read on their own with the audiobook on. With, read through with them, and maybe stop the audio, discuss with them, take it forward. So that is a very very important aspect of doing that. Role play, role plays with the children, and after they read the book, get a few children, if there are 2 3 children who have read the book, their friends who have read the book, ask them to enact the story. Say they have an event, why don't you all put together and convert it into a script and enact the story. So that again develops their reading, in-depth reading skills. They will transfer and then they will present it to you. Encourage them to do all these things. These are very very important activities for them to start loving books. Create book clubs. That is a very important thing. We can have a small community of reading. Even in the smallest of small places, you can create communities of reading. You can collect a few children and put them to read, get them to read something, discuss it, have an activity after that about it. So that is a very important thing to have a book club where they can pull together and read. One more very interesting, like books are quite expensive, so you can't keep buying all the books that are available in this bookstore. So library is a good option. Another thing, if library is the best way to do it will be you buy one book, someone else buys another book, and then you have an exchange of books. That is something you can have, like when you build up a book, that is really helpful to buy books and exchange and share the books. There was one more idea which was very interesting, was you keep out your house in a small shelf, and anybody can come and pick up that book, read, and keep it back. So that is something that can happen. The books that you don't want anymore, you can keep it over, become a community book box where people can come, keep their books, and pick up some books for themselves to read, and maybe bring their own books and keep it over there so that others can read. Have a small shelf where people can access, and a lot of books can be exchanged over there. That is a very good idea that can be done. Keeping character alive, I spoke enough about that earlier while I was explaining to you about the other things. Have a dear session for the family. Also, I mentioned dear day. In schools, we have day where you drop everything and you start reading. That is a very, very important aspect, and is a fantastic fun activity to have in the house or in the school. So expose them to different types of storytelling. That's a very important part. And you try to tell them stories. Get your parents to tell stories for them. Get your grandparents to tell stories for them. Read for them. Tell your friends to read for them. Anybody who is good at it can help with the development process. Most important, leave books around the house. Make it a home where books are available, books are easy to reach out. Also, make a habit of taking them to the library every week. If you can't keep your books in the house, you can't have a library in your house, so just go out, take them to the library, or take them to a bookshop and spend few hours in the bookshop where they can sit and read. If you can't pick up books over there, so they just can sit and read over there. So these are very important steps, some strategies and some things to make reading a fun time. There are many more activities and things, but we are having a constraint of time and we can't keep going on with it. So the next thing is how to make reading. I think there are some teachers also here where how to make reading, and they have been asking, they have sent some questions asking how to make reading interesting for students. So first of all, create a reading corner in your classroom. Even if it is the smallest of classroom, please keep two benches or one bench aside where you can keep and as a reading corner if it is possible. I know some places it might not be possible, but try to do that. Create a reading space in your classroom. That is very important. Build up a library. Let them come and keep their books. Like I told you about a community shelf outside, in the classroom also they can have a community library where each one book and they can keep changing the books and they can keep reading the books and keep whatever book, interesting book they have read, they can come and keep it there in the library for a month or two and then take it back. So that is a very interesting concept, and it spreads the habit of reading to the whole classroom. So it creates that positive space for them to pick up the book anytime they want and read. If they're feeling bored of their read in the class. So that is something, especially during the free periods or during lunch break or during whatever time they get, free time that they get. Dear day or period. So suppose you have a class where you're going to substitute, you can have a drop everything and read. If in case you have a classroom library, it makes it much more easier to do that. Discuss with your students. Talk about the book that you have read recently and what did you feel about the book. It was an interesting book. Talk about the books that they would like to read or that they are reading and that particular age group is reading. So all that indirectly develops the reading skills in the child. And have a word. Okay, this is something very important. Have a word live where you keep asking the children to keep, whoever comes across a new word will be allowed to put a word on the word wall and keep changing the word wall every month. And please encourage the class to use the words from the word wall in their writing. So it helps them to relate to the words. Maybe play a game with that. Maybe play a hangman game with them with the words over there. So the word wall can be used in many ways to develop a vocabulary. That also helps them to, they will go and search for new words in the books and they will come back and they would put it over there. Have a book discussion time if there is a time, book discussion time, so they can read some books and they can come and discuss what they have read and discuss about the characters. Make it as easy and interesting as possible. Get them to draw, get them to maybe make a play out of it. So whatever way they want to in groups, they can work on it and have a book discussion. And keep a collection of fun activities. Okay, this is something very good idea for teachers, is that keep a box full of activities related to reading in your class. So then pick a chit from that and just do that activity, that particular day. Like whatever I suggested earlier, maybe it can be a book discussion, it can be performance, it can be a drawing thing, it can be whatever you want to do. You can think about a lot of ideas and put it into the box. That can be a default for that big vast topic. So that's how I come to an end of what I want to say about how you can make get children love. So now I would like to ask, do you have any questions? And I would really love to address those. There are a few questions that have come in here. Also address, which already has been sent to Sir earlier. So by the time you all can type in your questions, I'll address those. So one of the questions that came up was how to indulge a 6-year-old in reading who spends much time in watching cartoons. I could spend time sitting with the child and reading with the child, get a reading time done. So yes, but don't force the child watching cartoons and come and read with me, but instead you can sit with the child at a time when that is done, and you can ask them to read with you. You can read for the child basically 6 have a fun reading activity time at that time. It should be more interesting than the cartoon. So that will be interesting for the child. Okay, there is a very interesting question. See comics as a way to bring kids closer to books, the pros and cons. It's a very interesting question. Comics are really um, comics have images in them, and some children like to watch images and understand. They may find string of words in a book very difficult to read, so comics breaks those words into blocks, so it helps them to read. And it's got a wonderful relation that the child develops with the book. And so initially comics are fantastic to get the child to read, so I don't have any in reading a comic book. I don't know why there was this thought, because there are very interesting stories that have been converted into. Like I grew up all my Panchatantra through Amarchitra Kathas. So Amarchitra Katha is a fantastic comic book that you can pick up for your child with so many interesting things that they talk about. There were, there used to be Mandrake comics. It will take you into a very magical world. So there were so many comic books then when I was a child, and even now there are are available. You know, even your Jekyll and Hyde in a graphic format. So yes, if the child is not able to read a book which has got you can very well encourage the child to read comics to help them to go forward. Any other questions? Do you have any questions? You're, you're on mute, sir.
Yeah, there's somebody who's raised a hand. I think it is Vedant. Vedant. Vedant, can you go ahead with your question,
Vedant
please?
Kumar.
Yeah. Vedant, can you come up with your question?
Sir,
Yeah.
our country is how is the how is how is the education very interesting, sir?
How is education interesting?
So if you have education is interesting because you get so much of knowledge out of education, and if it is done the fun, just fantastic thing that you can have. You should have fun in learning things, new things. I think reading books will be a very good way of learning, very way, in a very happy way. So you should learn to read books. Books can take you anywhere in the world. So if you read, it is going to take you there.
Okay. Hema, I have
Anybody
a
else?
question. Hema, I have a question.
Yes.
Most of the time,
Yes, sir.
this is probably everybody has got, even I have. With the present situation of digitized world, right? How do you really encourage students getting on to digital learning, reading books on Kindle, PDF format, or you still feel that hardbound books would be a better option?
So to answer this question, it is a matter of choice. Actually, many people feel it convenient to read a book on a Kindle, but feel the feel of book is very different, and holding a book in your hand and reading is very different from that. But intrinsically, I would not suggest too much of Kindle reading unless and until you're traveling somewhere where you can't carry too many books, only on those situations I think should be given hardbound books or physical books to read, because already they are having too much of screen time with other things.
Yeah.
Where they spend time together and read books, the physical books rather than Kindle. But having said that, as adults would be reading out of down for their reading time, the child might be curious and would like to read from the Kindle. So maybe in between they can be that for some time, because for us reading is very important, and the medium of reading can change, but it is avoidable.
Okay.
Avoidable, and give the children a proper book, physical book. So somebody would I
Yeah,
would like to share my
Mr.
experiences.
Somebody, yeah, please go ahead. You can unmute and then share your experience as
Yeah,
an educator.
yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Hema. It was really, really lovely to hear you. This is Komal here. Actually, my son. Okay,
Okay.
as an educator, I would just like to share my experience.
Miss Komal,
See,
Miss Komal, can you just give a brief about yourself so that everybody would know? Um, you know,
I
yeah.
didn't get you.
Could you just give a brief intro of
Yes,
yours?
Okay, so my name is Komal. I'll just start my video.
yeah, that.
No, just the voice is also
So I'm
sufficient.
Komal Goenka.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Can you hear my voice? Am
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
audible?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm Komal Goenka. I'm a founder of Phonic World. It's a learning academy where I train children. I teach them phonics and grammar.
Okay.
And of course, I'm a certified from following Hema and other people in Mumbai Storytelling Group. I really love the way that they are encouraging people to tell stories, to read more. I really felt that today's program, or maybe today's webinar, would be very, very informative for me. So the your PPT was really nice, and of course, even I speak about reading, enhancing the reading skills among children. But of course, as educators, I think it is a social responsibility that to keep motivating parents, because sometimes I feel that parents, of course, in this time during the lockdown time, parents do not really have time to sit with their children with their work and so many things. But when you that was something which I initiated. Was the book exchange program, and that was only because I have a very big database of parents. So I just messaged to all of them that I need one WhatsApp video from your children when, when they're reading any book. But while reading a book, they should have one prop in the hand. Prop in the hand, or they're wearing a prop, maybe they're making a head crown or related to the book, so that they look forward to create something and then they read it. And they also were supposed to make their reading log. How to read book, what was the remark? Self appreciation is like very important. Was I able to cover my or read my book during the stipulated time period or not? So I ask parents to give them remarks, because parents are never satisfied. So self appreciate yourself. Do you really like the way you read? Were you making a lot of spelling mistakes, or anything that you felt that was good in you? Just appreciate yourself and give a remark to it. You'll not believe, I had some 50 parents, and every were reading books, and parents were even complaining that because of this initiative, my children are not reading their school books. They're so busy reading storybooks. So I see behind that I keep my this board ready. Whenever we read something, we make a paper prop with it. And book. If the book is about the butterflies, they're going to make one butterfly prop. They're going to hold that butterfly prop and maybe read a book like this, or maybe they're going to manipulate that butterfly. So this is something which I thought I would just be sharing with you all, because children need some spark, I guess. They need and if the parent is not forcing, but at least encouraging them. But at some point, I feel that the parent should also be forced. That please, you have to do this.
Interesting.
They need to set an exam.
Yeah, sorry, Hema, please.
Sorry.
So, so I'm so thankful to you, Hema, to bring this, and I think more and more people deserve to listen to you. I think there should be some hundreds of people participating in such kind of webinars, because they're really missing out something which is so important for them, for their children as a part of their growing years. It's so important.
I think sharing what you said, it's very true that a lot of things, sometimes parents really don't have time to spend that much time with the child, with the program. So reading programs do help a lot, especially for picking up reading words and how to go about reading. So reading, and they really help as a supplementary to what can be done in the, and sometimes parents are really not able to spend that time, so they would like to outsource that. But yes, and still I say that at least, even if you don't have time in the week, create a Saturday 1 hour time or Sunday 1 hour to read, because that is that's a bonding thing. It's something very special. You have to spend that time with the child to read. Thank you, Komal, for starting.
Thank you, Ms. Komal. It was interesting, Hema. I have few points to add on, and then we will close. I was really impressed with the, it's really important. Like you said, how parents don't miss a meal. I think that was very interesting for me, and how voice is very important, because I always felt that a teacher's voice, a parent's voice creates a lot of impact on a child's growth. And I think when the teacher or the mother is reading, that will also develop. I would like to add that it will also develop the listening skills, which is very important, because when we are reading, as we grow up, we don't want to listen. We only want to talk, right? So the listening skills also become very important. As a teacher, as a parent, I would not like to listen to my son or a daughter, because I think I am always I am right, and my son is not experienced, so I would not listen to him. So listening skills also would grow as we grow into an adult. That will come in handy for us, of how much we listen to others to understand the person. That will also be very interesting. And as you were talking about taking them out, when you go out to places, especially when parents go out shopping, when you're into a mall, when you're into a vegetable market, you can relate to the stories what you had read earlier. Because normally, vacation visits are different from the regular visits of what you do. Like once in a week, you're in a vegetable market. Once in a month or twice in a month, you're in a mall. You're watching a movie. You keep talking about it. That will really help a lot. And DEAR program is something which I would like to add here in the school, which Al-Mizan International School, which we had started about 2 years back. The last 1 year, we have been doing this DEAR program. We start the day with DEAR program, Hema. We do it for 30 minutes.
Okay.
The first 30 minutes is a DEAR program. Then the core timetable starts. Weekly, in a week, we have 5 days to 6 days. 3 days are meant for English, 2 days are meant for Telugu, then for Hindi, Urdu. These are the 4 languages we have. So we make it a point: 2 days English, 2 days Hindi. Then the Telugu teacher, the class teacher reads out, or the student, or one of the student does a reading. So we do this DA program every day for 30 minutes in the classroom. And this is something which has
Super.
given good results for us, which I thought I should share. And also the other thing which I would like to share is DA program is done where all of the entire staff, including the support staff, the drivers, the IRs, everybody sit and read, irrespective of whatever language they read.
Yes.
I don't mind. You read a Urdu book or a
Exactly.
Telugu book, or you read English or anything, a newspaper or anything which is interesting. 30 minutes are given to you. We are all spread out in the open area, in the garden or in the assembly area, and the reading happens. This happens almost every month. So this is something which also encourages. And the other thing which I would like to share is, I don't know, Hema might not agree or disagree with me. How good it is to challenge a child to read a book, right? I have read 20 books in a month. How many books are you reading in a month? So we did this exercise. You would not suggest that, right, Hema?
I'm
Right. Uh,
I am of the belief always that the child has to have the space and the
yes.
time to grow. So
Yes.
you cannot force things on the child. I'm a person who is very much against exams also. So a wrong
I know.
person to ask me challenges.
I'm also uh, so something like
You know, very
but
comfortable that
in fact
work.
we created another system where I said you have a choice. You read a book of your choice, and you have a choice of doing it in different way. You read it in the school bus. You read it as you're sleeping, as you're reading.
I
Yeah, yeah, Hema.
I have a suggestion over there in the sense what we can do instead is like instead of telling them read 30 books and tell me, so we can put up a chart in this class and say end of the month everybody
Yeah,
comes and puts up quietly puts up how many books you have read this
yeah,
month
yeah,
and what are the books you have read. So spoken about, or it is not something to be spoken about. Oh, look at this one, he has read 10 books, this one has read 5 books.
mm,
Instead it is there on the thing. Children are very somebody has read so many books, and they themselves will figure out that because a person has read so many books, his interaction is much better here, or
okay,
his vocabulary is much better. So pick own. So they
yeah,
are very smart. Children are, we underestimate their intelligence actually sometimes. They
yeah,
will really pick up these things from the chart and they will know. And so you'll slowly see that the numbers by the end of the year. But only thing is, it should not be challenged. It should not be said that, okay, I'm looking at the chart. I'm seeing how many people have written. Anmol, you have read 10 books today. Oh, fantastic. This month, we are going to award Anmol because he has read 10 books. Instead of that, just leave it at that. And the child will, and because he's already read 10 books when he looks at others, so he is going to feel a sense of achievement, a self, self esteem will go up. Okay, I've read so many books, and there are other children who will be motivated. Oh, that fellow has read 4 books. My God, I think maybe I should read one more book and I'll put it up over there. So there is not, but they themselves know it is a self-learning process and self-encouragement that they will have within themselves to build up their own learning
yeah. Thank you.
habit. So that
Um,
will come up.
yeah, there's another
See, these are
misconception.
habits. Habits cannot be.
Yes.
Sorry,
There's
sorry,
another
sir.
misconception which most of the parents, most of the time, they think that reading books away something different from the school books or the textbooks, what we call, will create an impact on the results. But the research, if you Google, you would understand what I would like to say. The academic growth in the children who read books has really gone up than the children who read only the textbooks. This is something which we don't understand, but here I would like to stress that there is a
So
tremendous growth of better performances in academics for the children who read books. Books in the sense of fictions, non-fictions, biographies, children who read newspapers, children who read comics, they really fare better compared to the students who really read only textbooks. This is something which we all have to remember. And one more thing, one more last thing which I would like to add. I keep following up with different publishers of books to conduct various activities. There's one very interesting activity which is coming up, and Pratham does this every year. They come up with activity, something called one book, one story, one day, which they have sometime now, which they are organizing. So this is also something they send the books. Last year it was physical. Now this year they are doing it online because of the social distancing and the schools are closed. Something like this, the teachers, the parents have to really. These activities are not only for schools. Even parents can register. They would send you a PDF format of the book. You can download it and read the book to your child from them. And there are a lot of publishers who have offered themselves in the last 6 months. The entire books are available free of cost on the. I was very surprised. I felt really happy when Amar Chitrakatha released their books on PDF, especially the Chanda Mama and all these books, which came in. The pandemic came in as a blessing for readers because they were all available all throughout, and parents have to really Google, find out, and read books and give it to the children also to read. It was very interesting, Hema, and really good tips for all the teachers here. I would be putting in down the email ID of Hema and the school. In case if you have any more questions to for Hema, you can always write a mail to her, and then probably she could answer it back to you. Or any more tips you have to share, you can always share it with us. We could probably use it, and we could probably take it across to other school teachers and other parents where they can really like one. I was very impressed, Miss Komal, when you said when the child is reading a book, the child can have a prop of that particular story, like a butterfly in the hand, and then start reading the butterfly story. It comes. There is a creativity also which is getting developed among the children, and then critical thinking, as Hema said. So these were the things. Hema, if you could spell out, if you could type out your email ID on the chat box. Hema, can you hear me?
Yes.
Your email ID there.
Yes, sir. I'm typing it.
Yeah.
There are two email IDs I'm going to give. They can give in any one. So either of these email, you can send me a mail, and I would be glad to answer whatever query. So if you want some tips, I can help you out with that. So anytime, so not an issue at all. So this is my email ID.
Yeah, so you have the email ID. You also have the email ID of our school where you can give us the feedback of how you felt how you felt about the program today. Both the email IDs are there, Hema's and the school email ID. You can always write to us, make a note of it, and get back to us, and let us know how you thought the program was all about. Thank you, Hema. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Special thanks to Hema for coming up with the time and giving us 1 hour for this. In fact, we have crossed more than 1 hour. It's always a pleasure, Hema. We have Sorry, Hema, you said something.
Thanks for the opportunities. No. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. It was so interesting to this. Yeah.
Yeah, we create an opportunity for each one of us that will help us learn and understand better. Thank you. So I'm closing this program. Thank you, one and all. Stay safe, stay home, be blessed.
Bye.
We confidently invite parents and guardians to come and take a tour of our school. understand our system, and experience some of the amazing things we have to offer for your child. So, what are you waiting for? Get in touch with Al-Mizan International School now.